Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at an investor targeting strategy for a $200 million multifamily real estate fund. This presentation includes a detailed investment targeting exercise for a client that is looking to raise capital and utilize my institutional investor databases. Now, typically for this type of service, the price for initial targeting ranges anywhere from $95 to $150 depending on the scope. And in this video, I'm going to run through exactly what that service is and how I used it for this particular client. And it lets you see the Word document report plus the Excel spreadsheet that shows the targeting for this particular case. So let's look at the offering. So it's a $200 million U.S. multifamily fund acquiring Class A and B apartments in high-growth Sunbelt markets. Basis advantage play on multifamily values that have been replaced below replacement cost. So first off on the screening, and again you're going to see the full database coming up. We're going to start with core plus and value add because it's a 50-50 core plus and value add target gross IRR between 14 and 18% with an equity multiple between 1.5 and 2.5x. Now, the area is Sunbelt multifamily, but most importantly, it's in the United States, so there is a fair bit of international players that would take a look at this. But it really includes 5 to 7 Class A and B assets built from 1990 and up across multiple high-growth metropolitan areas, anywhere from $50 to $120 million each. And the institutional terms are it's a 4 to 6 year hold, 65 to 70% LTV, 6 to 8% cash on cash, institutional and accredited capital. This is a particular real estate group that is very well known. They're quite large, and they've come to me to take a look at some investor databases. Even though they do use other firms, they just want to make sure that they're narrowing down what they should be after, and also that allows them to take a look to see whether they want to acquire my database to assist them and their partners. So match to the fund profile, how we did it. So I have already done a screening for real estate groups in the past, so that narrows it down. My institutional database has about 28,000 firms. And we've narrowed it down previously, so this time it's at about 13,682 real estate investors scored on strategy, sector, and geography, matched to U.S. multifamily core plus value add fund, as you saw on the first slide. Now, pensions, endowments, foundations, insurers, and family offices make up a large amount of this group. Again, it's a global. So how did it work out? So tier 1, the best fit of this, it was about 3,300 firms that have identified themselves as interested in core plus value add strategy and U.S. markets. That's the exact mandate match for this fund. So again, 3,300 out of 13,000. Multifamily focus, so there was around 177 that said that they're looking at multifamily residential directly, but 250 more will back a first-time fund. So again, we're trying not to eliminate too many, but we're also trying to narrow it down to the prime ones. Obviously, the tier 1's the best fit. And then named contacts, so my databases include key contacts that participate in these type of offerings. And in this particular run, I've identified 1,714 tier 1 investors resolving to a named decision maker, verified contact details, verified, cleaned, updated as of middle of 2026. So it's pretty good targets. Now, if the database doesn't have an email attached to it, it's really easy. You take the name, you put it into LinkedIn, and I get about a 98% hit on those. So they're very much up to date. So where the capital lives, or in other words, who to approach, the best fit buyers are institutions and family offices that already allocate to private U.S. multifamily in core plus and value add strategies led by the groups below. So the good thing is real estate's very popular with most of these groups. One, pensions and endowments, public and private pension funds, endowments, and fund foundations. They're the core institutional buyer base. Secondly, real estate specialists and family offices. Those are real estate focused managers and family offices with direct U.S. multifamily and co-investment appetite. And thirdly, the Middle East. So my Middle East databases are really important in this type of search because there's a very strong demand across the board in the Middle East. And we're mainly talking about the UAE, Saudi, Kuwait, and Qatar in this case. There's a very strong appetite for U.S. opportunities in key markets. So that's something that worked out really well for us. Test. So here's a key database disclosure. I like to add this to all my database videos. Data sourcing. This database blends leading institutional data, public records, and real-world intelligence from past fundraising mandates, providing a deep pool of verified key contacts. Every contact in my database is verified. Secondly, accuracy and currency. Most of the database has been updated in 2025 and 2026. Contact roles and investment sentiments naturally evolve. Results are not guaranteed. Data is best leveraged by organizations with dedicated teams. I always like to tell people these databases are not to be used for spamming, they're used for targeted approach. So that's something that's really, really important. A verification notice, institutional investor and family office data are estimates derived from behavioral signals and historical touch points and cannot be fully verified. This intelligence is designed to provide a foundation for your outreach rather than a guarantee of the specific outcome. Now, the good news is most institutional grade investors do not change their investment thesis. So if a year or 2 years ago they said they're interested in real estate, they're probably still going to be interested in real estate 3-4 years down the road. But for the most part, most of this has been updated from 2025 and 2026. Notice, strictly available to corporate or institutional grade groups only, no personal sales. Okay, so let's take a look at the institutional investor audit. This is part of the service that comes with the Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to go over just after this. So this turned out to be 7 pages, and basically it's just the written version of what the report is. So we just start off with the very basics in the very front. What I've done is I've taken out the company name for confidentiality reasons here. So the executive summary basically says that we looked at 13,682 institutional investors, and of that we found about 3,300 whose real estate strategy includes core plus and value add, whose target is U.S. North American markets. And it's dominated by institutions, so there's about 1,441 pension funds, public and private ones, 559 foundations, 316 endowments, 186 insurers, plus family offices, wealth managers, and real estate focused managers. So then we also take a look at what the opportunity is there as just a bit of a review, a bit of the framework, in other words, how we came up with these numbers before we get to the Excel spreadsheet. And then we talk about the best suited investors. So here's just a list of the best suited tier 1 priorities. Of course, there's a lot more than this, but this just gives them a bit of an idea presentation wise to see the blend and the focus and the access, country, assets under management, that sort of thing. And then this is just a short list of the priority contacts. And I've just taken out the emails because, again, this is mainly just for presentation purposes. To show that the report does have senior parties and identified people who are responsible mainly for real estate investments. And then some how to use caveats as well to finish off. So that includes the Word document part of the audit. Now let's take a look at the spreadsheet. Okay, now we're over on the Excel spreadsheet in the final report part of it. So this is the institutional investor screen for the $200 million US multifamily real estate fund. And you can see here is basically just a review of what we came up with. We started off with 13,000 entire reachable real estate universe retained. And remember, that's down from my total database of about 28,000 contacts because we already did a real estate screening previously. And you can see here I've got the qualified investors, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, tier 4, and then just a review of the opportunity because these are the key inputs that we use to find the final amounts. Now let's look at the full screened list. So basically what we started off with was this database here, which if I go down to the very bottom, you can see we're at about 13,500, 600, about 680. And you can see here on the left-hand side we've got rankings, and obviously at the very top are the priority tier 1 groups, the fit score. So all these scores are basically just how strong these candidates here at the very top are compared to ones that are further down. And you can see here, if I go over to the right hand side, we've got the investor name, type, focus, real estate access, strategy, geographic preference. So all this is that we've taken using a premium AI agent to pull this out, organize it, and rank it so that the person who is looking either just to find out what the universe is of what their opportunity could get, or to use this as a basis to purchase the investor database from my website. So you can see here, it's going to, a lot of them, we're going to talk about the assets under management, whether they're willing to look at first-time funds. Now, some of the cells are not going to have reports on them. That's just the nature of institutional grade databases. So we basically have to work with what we have, but this one is pretty complete. And you're going to get the key contact, their title, their contact email. Usually you're going to get their contact telephone as well. So again, this is the output for the full screen list. Now let's go to the tier 1, the best fit. In other words, if the client said to me, listen, I'm not interested in the big database, but I only want to buy the tier 1 candidates, then this is what they would end up receiving. So in this particular case, we ended up with about 3,300, and that's a pretty good sample size if we're taking a look at 13,000 as what we started out with. And you can see it's the same. If I scroll along to the right hand side, you're getting all those contact emails, titles, roles, the key people, and you're also getting the information. You can see this has all been verified: core, core plus, debt, distressed, opportunistic, value add. So the key tier 1 candidates are basically all saying, yes, we invest in real estate. Here's our the geographic preferences, and then the focus category, core, plus, and value add in this case. So those would be prime targets for a real estate fund of $200 million if they were looking for their initial outreach database. This would be the perfect one for them. So here's a key database disclosure. I like to add this to all my database videos. Data sourcing. This database blends leading institutional data, public records, and real-world intelligence from past fundraising mandates, providing a deep pool of verified key contacts. Every contact in my database is verified. Secondly, accuracy and currency. Most of the database has been updated in 2025 and 2026. Contact roles and investment sentiments naturally evolve. Results are not guaranteed. Data is best leveraged by organizations with dedicated teams. I always like to tell people these databases are not to be used for spamming. They're used for targeted approach. So that's something that's really, really important. A verification notice: institutional investor and family office data are estimates derived from behavioral signals and historical touch points and cannot be fully verified. This intelligence is designed to provide a foundation for your outreach rather than a guarantee of a specific outcome. Now, the good news is most institutional grade investors do not change their investment thesis. So if a year or 2 years ago they said they're interested in real estate, they're probably still going to be interested in real estate 3-4 years down the road. But for the most part, most of this has been updated from 2025 and 2026. Notice, strictly available to corporate or institutional grade groups only, no personal sales. For more information on this database and the services I provide, click the link in the description below. That's DubaiInvestorsList.com. Please like, share, and subscribe.